So I caught the rear seat framing on this 8-passenger, caught it up with the 11-passenger. And I could get into bending these laterals and in the back framing, but 2 reasons why I'm not. I don't like to fire my steamer up when it's 90 plus degrees out. And I don't have enough coal on hand to complete the process. I have enough that I could probably bend these laterals, but I don't have enough to do the rear framing. So I need to run down to Sheridan, Wyoming and get some coal, and I'll do that relatively quickly. So the next project that I can get into is perhaps building the seat frames and getting them ready. It doesn't depend on the bending for that. And it brings up another one of those instances that you can never say never. There are a variety of seat widths on these coaches. And of course, we're probably going to be different because we're an inch narrower on the 8 than we are on the 11, so you would expect that. But I'm going to show you some seats that they are just different in style, how they match up to the frame. So this is what I have left of the 2 seats in the center of the body. There's a little bit of the framework on this one, nothing on this. There's a little bit of a seat back remnant. The iron is there, which is a good thing, but there's not much there for wood to get measurements off of. Now these are the 2 center seats. And what's left of the rear seat is even less yet. This is the side framing of the seats. It would set like so. So there's even less there to get a measurement off of, except this measurement here. And this is going to be kind of a determining factor. We're at basically, that says 1 3/4 inches. Inch and 7/8, so anywhere from 1 3/4 to 2 inch. And this is what is left of the driver's seat. It is actually the most intact and perhaps the most that we can get measurements off of. So you can tell where this set on the framework here and down here. And if I try to get the width of that measurement, we're at 39.5, 39 3/4 in there. And the width of this one that we're building new, we're just right there at 40 inches. And it's tough to tell what is showing up on that old wood. Our framework is actually 39.5, so we're right there to what that old seat seems to be measuring. And the amount of overhang from the frame to the edge of the seat on this one looks like about 3 1/4. There's nothing left enough on these other 2 seats to really get a measurement off of. So this is where I can go to the other seats that I have salvaged. So I have 3 seats here that came off of another Yellowstone coach, and it was a Western coach. And the driver's seat on this one, the framework seems to be right at that 39.5 in there. But the overhang on this one is 4.5 inches, whereas the one that we're working on shows to be 3 1/4. And then if I go to these other 2 seats here that are on the middle of the seat, that only seems to show about 1 1/4 inch overhang from the frame to the edge of the seat. And it seems to be that way on both, which is really small. I would have expected larger than that. And I have 2 other seats here from another Yellowstone coach, and this is the driver's seat. They're both upside down. But when I check the overhang on this one, we're right at 4 inches. Could almost be 4 1/4. And then if I check the overhang of this other seat, we're at 2. And I have the rear seat off of this same coach, and that overhang also is 2 inches. And if I check the width of the framework on this rear seat, we're right at 47 inches. And when I did the framework on the rear seat of this 11, that's where we're at, is 47 inches. And kind of judging the width of the frame on the driver's box, we're in there 39 and a half, maybe 39 on this one. And on this other seat here, we're right at 48. And when I did the framework on these coaches here, this a new 11 is at 48. And then if I check the driver's seat on this front box pattern that we've been using, that one is right at 4 inches overhang as well. And that's what the overhang on this one showed. So I'm kind of leaning toward these measurements here. I only have the rear seat, a middle seat, and a driver's seat. So it looks like possibly these came off of an 8-passenger coach. I don't remember that for sure. But the frame widths seem to match that 11 that I have. So possibly the overhang would be appropriate for this coach. And to measure off of this seat that came off of the 11, the overall width of that seat is 45 and a half. But this seat here measures 48 and a half, and it came off of a framework that is also pretty close to that 39 inches as well. So the framework is pretty similar on the two, but for some reason this seat was made quite a little bit wider. And if I measure the frame width, and this is just kind of guessing off of paint, this one measures about 47, where our other one that we're working on measured 48. This one also is about 47. So these are good comparisons, but they didn't come off of this body. This driver's seat that did come with this whole body assembly, I think is the safest bet to say what was on this coach. So the width of this base for the driver's seat seems to be 45 and a half with a 3 1/4 inch overhang. And this seat here is 52 inches. So if we have a 48-inch frame, that will allow us to have our 2-inch overhang. So this might be the pattern that we use for the middle seat when the patterns off of that old original one are so bad. But one thing I would like to check off of these seats, even if I don't use the overhang measurements, is check the width, because sometimes that front seat of the two middle seats is a hair smaller than the middle seat. This measures 49 3/4. This measures 50. So they're basically the same, but there have been times that I have found that the front seat will be a 1/2 inch or so narrower than the second seat because of the beginning of the curvature of the body toward the driver. And that is one thing that I can measure off the remnants of the seats that came off of this 11 is the seat back, because they are still intact. This one is 49 and a half. This other seat back, also still intact, 54. And that is a puzzle to me. Have one seat back at 54, the other one at 49 and a half. That's pretty extreme. I would have expected max maybe an inch difference. We'll have to ponder that one. So just to get general sizes of framings, front frames, 3 inches for the front, 4 inches for the back, And the side of the driver's box is usually wider than the rest of them. This one is 4 3/4. 4 3/4. Front frame on this driver's box is right at 3 2 7/8. 4 1/2 on the back, almost 6 on the side of this one. This one is 3 by 4 3/4 by 4 1/2. The front of the rear seat also right in that 3-inch area. This is a tapered frame, but we need about 5 1/2 inches at the widest part. Taper those down. And the back is unique on this one as well. That shows to be 4 inches also. So it does begin to be kind of a process of extrapolation, finding the averages. I know we're going to be an inch narrower on this 8 than we are on the 11, but the overall widths of the frames, I think I'm going to keep those consistent between the two and just have to worry about the widths or the lengths of the seats. So I'll see what I can find, what I have for material. These seat frames seem to be 7/8 of an inch. I would have thought they would have been 13/16, but they don't. They seem to be 7/8. So I'll see what I've got. So I have one is 5 1/4, right at 3-inch. So this is going to be the most common, be the front frame. I have one here, it's 3 7/8. That might work for the 4-inch. I'll see what else I've got. I have a piece here that's just a shy 5-inch. That might be better yet. These are pretty good in length. 14s. Looks like maybe a 10 or 11 there. That's a 10. The rear seat is the one that takes the widest at 5 1/2. We need to have about 20 inches for these, so I need 4 out of that widest board. These need to be 4 1/2-ish. And this is 4 plus. I could make a 4 1/2 piece for that. It has to be cut to the contour of the rear panel. I do have a few knots that I'm going to have to work around. Well, this should be my cut list. And total pieces, 4, 8, 12, 16, here I need 8, another 4, so 16, and another 12. I need 28 pieces total. I'm supposed to have 28, but I'm just counting 27. So somewhere I miscalculated. Got to rip these down to different sizes for widths. I'll recheck my numbers in, but I should have 28. So I used the black marker the first time, but when I double check, I'll use a blue. Somewhere I'm missing one. So I had to mark all the ends to keep track of where I was at, and this is the one that I am missing. This is the rear frame on the two center seats on the 11 passenger, 4 by 52.5, and I needed 2, and I only cut 1. And my blue marker didn't stand out very much better than my black one, so I used my red pencil, but this is where I needed 2, but I only have 1. So I'm going to cut me a second one. That'll make 28. Sometimes it seems like I restock my spare parts room faster than I use it up. So this gets all my seat frames associated with the correct seats as they go on. There are different widths between the 8 and 11, but my side frames are all 4.5s, and my cross frames are 3s and 4s. So once I set up my saw to do these lap joints to put them together, it should be pretty repetitious. So this is the basic foundation of all our seats. I've got some more rabbeting to do. These seat frames are actually upside down, but I'll rabbet out the inside for some seat bases and have to have some beveled edges and all that. But this is where a seat starts. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.